So this past May, each of us, Melanie and I went together, Natalie went on a separate trip, traveled to the Holy Land through the ELCA and their partnership with Peace Not Walls.
So Peace Not Walls is the engagement strategy of the ELCA for peace and justice in the Holy Land. So this was really a collaboration between Peace Not Walls and the ELCA's young adult ministry. So this idea is trips for young adults led by young adults. It was really an opportunity for young adults to take ownership of this idea of what is justice, what is pilgrimage, what are our roles in this world.
The trip was described as an alternative pilgrimage to the Holy Land to learn about peace and justice in that place. And what that means is it's a pilgrimage, and yes, we go see the holy sites. We go to the Galilee, we go to Church of the Holy Sepulchre, we go to the Western Wall, we go to Dome of the Rock and Alaska Mosque. But it's an alternative pilgrimage in the way that we're not only walking where Jesus walked, we're walking in the way that he walked. I kind of want to hear what you guys like, because the Holy Land is a really hard place to go see right now. I kind of want to hear what you guys like about it. Like, what's your favorite thing about it?
I like that it's a place that's so significant for so many people.
They're passionate about it. Mm-hmm. Yep. I would say that's my favorite thing too. And I think it's just cool how old, like, the place is. Like, you go to Old City, Jerusalem, or, like, in Jericho especially, like, or at Masada, you go to all these places and you feel the history, you know, and you feel all of the people that have been there before you, and you know there's going to be people long after you or anybody else you ever knew is gone.
I was just thinking the one thing that's confusing about what your and I's answer is there's also this weird dynamic where people feel from all around the world feel very attached to this place and find meaning here. But even people that have, like, never set foot there are like, but that somehow they claim this place as having part of their identity, and I think it's one of few places where that's the case. So I think that's a really kind of confusing and odd dynamic to, like, have such an intense connection and meaning in a place that you've never been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, in whatever space they are, it can be, like, in the middle of European romanticism, and still, like, the Holy Land is important to them.
I think that's a really cool part of it, though, too, you know?
I mean, the first thing I thought of was my host mom and Beit Sahur making me this huge thing of eggplant makluba, vegetarian, of course, just for me. I don't know, every gesture that you see from people like that, just...
Yeah. Palestinian hospitality.
Yes.
Is alive and well.
Yes.
Very much so.
And that, you know, it's a tradition, and it's just, like, a way of being, but it's done from, like, I think this deep authenticity that, like, people actually genuinely care about each other, and I think that's really important to know in a place that, like, I mean, obviously the conflict dominates a lot of pieces of life, but to know, too, that, like, what is also really, really prominent in the way people live is caring for one another.
It's beautiful, too, you know?
Yeah.
This guy was what do you say? Now the technical term is Palestinian citizen of Israel.
Okay.
And he's like, yes, I've been an Arab Israeli, I've been, like, all these different things, and now this is what the state says my identity is. I thought about what you said about the land, and he was talking about the stories his grandma used to say, and she'd talk about the Nakba, and 1948, and, like, the soldiers came, and his grandfather was killed, and all these different things, and he said the part where she started crying every single time was when they said, the war is finished, you can come out. And so, like, she came out of her house and was really happy, and she walked to the edge of town, and there's an Israeli soldier there, and said, your fields are no longer yours, and take in, you have the house you live in. And they said, like, that's what caused her to weep every time, was the loss of land and these fields. And he kind of talked about the part that's, like, your identity too, and thinking of how identity is wrapped into the land. It was, like, cool, because that's something I totally can't wrap my head around. And, like, the history of the land, just, like, that land means something so different than it does here.
Yeah.
Just, like, it's this place where everyone comes together, and you see people that you've never seen before, and, like, didn't even know existed, especially in Jerusalem.
I remember when we got asked that question, how, like, prevalent is the occupation in everyday life, and it's just, like, it's the most prevalent thing.
Yeah. And yeah, it's everywhere. It's part of what makes it a difficult place to talk about, because you don't want to reduce people to one aspect of their lives or the place where they live, but it is very prevalent, and I don't think you can understand this place in the world without understanding this conflict and the roots of it. And so I don't know, when talking about it, it's like I don't want to reduce people to their misfortunes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so important to understand just like that aspect of this
Mm-hmm.
place.
Mm-hmm. Like, what do you wish people knew about this place that is so important to so many of us?
My hope is that when people go there, kind of like what we did on our trip, right? We talked about pilgrimage as like seeing the dead stones, which are like holy sites, like physical buildings and structures, but then taking time to like meet and interact with the living stones, the people that are there, because the Holy Land isn't a thing of the past, it's a current and ongoing, continuous thing. And so if you're like going on some sort of pilgrimage, looking at like that idea of like walking not just in the places that Jesus walked, but in the way that he walked. And so meeting with people and engaging with people on the ground and hearing their stories, and just taking the time to do that instead of like being shuffled around on a tour bus.
Yeah.
And nothing could have prepared me for what we were going to see, and like the injustice that we were seeing it prepared me for learning about occupation and what that means, and how to like empathize with so many different people and hearing just incredibly tragic stories, but also very like inspirational stories as well. That's really hard for me in that place, is to find the happiness, the hope, the joy, the beauty.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard to go and not be angry all the time.
Yeah.
That way when we talk about occupation, it's always like, oh, this like these people as victims, Holocaust, these people as victims, like these horrific things that are happening, but I also want to like find the celebration that happens that like makes it so people can continue to live full lives in these places.
With that too, that every time I talk about Palestinians as an oppressed people, it's like I'm not trying to deny the Holocaust. I'm not trying to deny that that is one of the most horrific things that has happened in probably all of human history. I'm not like, it doesn't need to be a numbers comparison or even a qualitative comparison. It doesn't need to be for the situation in Palestine to still be oppressive to Palestinians. That doesn't mean that the Holocaust wasn't this hugely horrific, awful, unimaginable thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really hard to get across sometimes if you don't have a long time to sit down and talk with somebody about this.
Mm-hmm.
New videos every Tuesday and Friday here at Tiny Piano Club. Don't forget to subscribe or you're going to miss out on some real good frozen tortillas.